Welcome to the First Round Fantasy Podcast, your first choice for second round advice, with your hosts, Gabriel Miramontes and Jacob Bartley.
Burrow on 3rd and 7. Jefferson hauls it in. Would be Max Crosby. Touchdown, San Francisco.
Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. It's week 5. It's night 2. I'm here tonight. I'm here Friday. I'm here Saturday, answering your start-sit questions. Any trade proposals you may have, we can talk about it. If you're either on the TikTok, like how I call it, the TikTok, or on YouTube, we appreciate you coming by, stopping by today. We appreciate you so much. And we're just here to help you out. With that being said, if you don't like all of this quick fire shenanigans where it's just instant gratification, we do go a little bit more in depth. We're actually going live again tonight on YouTube for our weekly podcast where we sit down, we cover topics in a broader range and sometimes more specific detail. We're not the pros, but we definitely give our takes and we do our research. So feel free to hop on over there later on tonight for the podcast. It's at 7 p.m. sharp. First Round Fantasy Podcast. You can listen to it on YouTube or anywhere else you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Premium. Timestamps are always included so you can jump to the topics that you want, that you think are most important. And that's it. So feel free to stop by, say hi, drop a like or a dislike. And most importantly, your comments. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on in. Thanks for listening. And most importantly, I hope you guys are all doing well out there. Let's jump right into it tonight and get to some questions. Should I trade away Waller? If you need to, you can. He hasn't done anything for your fantasy team. That offense is a sinking ship. So if you have to, you can. Somebody asked a question last night. Can I drop Waller if I'm not in a league where they require me to play tight ends? Of course you can. He's not really doing anything. I think eventually he is the top target getter in that offense, but he's not doing it right now. And if there's guys that you need to pick up to input right away, especially with this week coming by, let's see. It's the first week of buys, folks. That means we have I had it up here earlier. Everyone knows already, but it's helpful to know for me personally. Let's see. Justin Herbert's on bye. Geno Smith is on bye. Deshaun Watson and Baker. That means the Chargers, the Seahawks, Cleveland Browns, and the Buccaneers are all on buys this week. You're going to be having to do some tough drops to pick up some guys to put into your lineup. I'm totally fine with that. Spent way too much time on it. But thanks for coming in, period. I appreciate you. Connor McGuireless. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your last name. D-Hop and Ramondre for Ridley. I would do that in a heartbeat. That's not a bad trade at all. You get the best player that I believe in the deal, who's had a lot of roadblocks so far this season. I think he comes out of that slump, not necessarily this week, but he has brighter future ahead as Jackson, whereas Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars continue to build that continuity. I think you're going to find that he's a really nice asset for your fantasy team. Bryce, I know that face. Welcome back, man. Thanks for coming on back. I appreciate you. I traded Mostert and Gabe Davis for Aaron Jones. Good trade. It's not the worst trade in the world. It's really not the worst trade in the world, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I've been big on selling high on Aaron Jones for the last couple of weeks. However, I do see a world. That's why it's good to take multiple views in here. I do see a world where Aaron Jones gets back to form. Of course, he wasn't going to look good last week. They had a really tough matchup. I think there's brighter days ahead for him, but that offense seems to be throwing the ball a lot. And what scares me the most about Green Bay is that their offensive line is struggling immensely. So overall, good trade. It's not bad. I wouldn't say it's not great. But Bryce, since I like you, it's good. It's right in the middle. If it's what you need, it's what you need. Let's see. Who should I trade for? I'm trying to trade away DK. Why are you trying to trade away DK? DK is a fine asset for your team. But if you're looking for someone, let's take a look at the trade chart. I'm going over here. Boom, 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 boom. Nothing's working. Boom, 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 boom. I hope you guys are all having a good night tonight. I am too. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. No football. So I assume that's why most of you are here, to get those last minute questions in. And again, nothing's working. Maybe my internet's out. So I'm just going to roll with it. Let's see. DK off the top of my head. You should be able to package him, or not package him, but you should be able to get a package back, a lesser RB and a wide receiver that hasn't really done anything yet. Maybe it might be too late to close the door on Terry McLaurin, but like a Rashad White and a Terry McLaurin for DK and some lesser scraps is something that I would look to target because you get that stable floor with Rashad White, even though I don't like him a ton. And then you also get a pretty healthy wide receiver in Scary Terry, who may knows Sam Howell starting to find himself. That might be the good trade target there. Let's jump over here. Chris Cook says Jones and Waller with Dallas defense against me. Oof. Wait, did you start those guys or something? Then yeah, you didn't have the best night. I apologize, Chris. But thanks for coming here and thanks for just let it all out, man. Let your feelings out. It's all good. I'm here for you all. Let's see. Who should I start? My team is stacked. If your team's stacked, man, then you're good to go, Splinsy. Hall, Wilson, ETN, Waddle, and Ridley. I can only start 2. Oh, your team is stacked, so you can only start 2. I love that Wilson finally got the work last week. But man, Hall's got a beautiful matchup. If you think there's a time for Hall to break out, it's this week against the Denver Broncos. Look what Khalil Herbert did last week, and nobody saw that coming because most of us were on Rashawn Johnson's trail. But with that being said, man, I'd ride ETN and probably Hall this week. Let's make it 2 weeks in a row with Garrett Wilson to see if he can keep that target share alive. But man, Hall and ETN don't sound bad. Sports says trade Cup. Let's see here. Trade Cup, Thielen, and Michael Thomas and Goddard for Kelsey and Waddle. I get Kelsey and Waddle. That's a solid trade. Although I will say that's a lot. I just realized that Cup was Cooper Cup. You're trading away one of the biggest mysteries in the NFL right now for your fantasy team. You got Kelsey and Waddle. Kelsey hasn't been himself lately. Maybe it's because he's dating Taylor Swift. I don't know. But it could be a possibility. I still think Mahomes wins out. So we're looking for that team to continue to build, continue to be dominant. I don't dislike the trade, but man, once I saw Cup, you already have Thielen who's doing great. I don't really care about Goddard and Michael Thomas and Waddle, but you get Waddle and Kelsey. It's a fair trade. I don't know which side I'd rather have, but if I had to choose in a gut, I'd take your side, Kelsey and Waddle, the 2 guys that I know are healthy, that are playing, that don't have the question marks surrounding them. Logan says Ridley and Madison for Devontae Smith. Ugh, that's a lot. Maybe try to do Ridley and Devontae Smith straight up. Like neither of them have really done too much. Excuse me if I'm wrong, but Devontae Smith, he's just kind of fluttered throughout the year. He hasn't had that big blow up game yet, whereas Ridley had one in week 1. Try to do that straight up, but if you absolutely have to, I don't dislike it. It's not disgusting by any means. Carter Newman says Richardson and Brian Robinson for K9. Nah, don't give up the rushing upside of Anthony Richardson. Brian Robinson actually has better days ahead. Washington was really competent last week against that Buffalo Bills defense. They play on Thursday night. This is a game that could get out of hand early. I don't think so. I think it's everyone's kind of in for a fool's gold type of game. You want Justin Fields to go out there and absolutely blow it up like he did last week. I don't think he necessarily does that. I think Washington is far more competent to kind of work with. So with all that being said, I think that I'd rather have Richardson and Brian Robinson. But if you can, go get K9 because he is the guy. So Carter, in a nutshell, Richardson and Robinson. Sorry, guys. Just got a text from my good co-host, Jacob Bartley. And I got to see it. And I literally just put it away. So now that's awkward because I don't know what he said. But anyways, let's get back to the questions. Give me 1 second while I look that up. Hope you guys are having a good night tonight. I liked what I did last night. Let me know if you're on the West Coast or the East Coast. It's always interesting to see. It's 9:19. What are you doing at 9:19? I'd love to just hear. I don't know. But whatever. I can't see it. Let's get back to it. Lame Jono? Lamonte Jono? I have no idea. Water or Olave or Ayuk or ATN? Which one do I start in the flex? Goodness gracious, is that filth? I'd like to ride the hot hand here with Brendan Ayuk. I did call last week, and I got a lot of calls wrong. I always have to admit that. But Deebo Samuel was by far a decoy. Like I had mentioned last week, Aiyuk had a great week. He's on a historic pace in terms of what he can do with the yardage on the limited amount of targets he's getting. So with that information, it legitimately tells me that these games will come and go. But I want to ride the hot hand here. Olave, Waddle, all had bad games. ETN had a tough game. Let's just ride the hot hand and go with Aiyuk this week. Trade my bench QB Richardson and T. Higgins for Devontae Adams. I have Lamar as my QB1 already, by the way. It's not a bad trade. You're upgrading your wide receiver from T. Higgins to Devontae, and you're giving up Richardson, who I think has a very high floor, but pretty much the only guy who's really competing with him right now in Lamar Jackson. Let me see here. No worries. I got it. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Let's get back to it. Yeah, that's a fine trade, man. If you're getting Devontae Adams back, I'm totally good with that. Starting Najee Harris or Cam Akers, that's gross. I'm probably going to go with Najee Harris this week. We at least know he's getting some work, approximately 50% of the shares right now. So that's who I like this week. Thanks for the question, though, Phoenix. Vinny Boy says, just traded Jones, Madison, and Josh Reynolds for Watson and ETN. Did I win it? Yeah, you got Watson and ETN. Of course you want it. Nice trade, Vinny. Are you from the Jersey Shore by chance? Let me know down in the chat. Dozer Raider says, should I start mixing Aiyuk or DJ Moore this week? If you're anything about me, I am not the fan, like most people are, of the Thursday night player. Which leads me into tonight's big question is a Thursday night preview. Who are we starting this week? Let's start at the QB position. With so many quarterbacks on bye, 4 to be exact, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson, and a couple of others who I can't really think of right now, but we already talked about him. Baker Mayfield's another one. Justin Fields is a guy that you can legitimately start this week on one side of the ball. And then on the other side of the ball, you can start Love too. I like them both equally. I think they're top 15 options this week for your fantasy team, so you can roll them on out there. At the wide receiver position is where it gets a little bit tricky. Jaden Reed, I don't like him with week 2. Christian Watson coming back. I do think you can start Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson with the high touchdown upside. Hot take though, Romeo Doubs is probably the receiver to own in Green Bay. I know that sounds crazy, but the target share was astronomical last week, and he's been solid even with Christian Watson sitting out. Now, a lot of people are speculating that when Christian Watson comes back, he's going to see that workload increase. And respectfully, Romeo Doubs is going to see it taken away. I don't necessarily buy that. With this line as bad as it is, we can't count on Watson even getting deep. I know he took a few slants to the house last season on short yardage passes, but still, where he does most of his work is downfield and in the red zone. If Jordan Love is running for his life, Doubs is going to be that way out. I think I like him a lot more. I know I like him a lot more rest of season, and that's kind of what I would do. So between those three, I'm starting Aiyuk. On the other side of the ball, you're starting Justin Fields. You can start Aaron Jones because of the scarcity of the running back position. DJ Moore, there's some talented wide receivers out this week. Allen, Amari Cooper. So Moore is a guy that you're probably going to start. As we start to roll into these bye weeks, that's where these Thursday night games, where I usually don't like to start players, I'm like, yeah, we got to roll them out. So let's at least see what we got. Running backs, Khalil Herbert is probably the guy that you need to start. Sorry, Roshan Johnson fans, including myself. I apologize. Again, I already said sorry for it last week, but it looks like Khalil Herbert is the guy there. Again, the stat was in one-score games, Khalil Herbert is getting all the works. Well, we were fooled because up until last week, the Chicago Bears had only played in one game that was a one-score game for maybe 4 minutes. So that's why we saw him get all the work, but it proved to be true. So we have to keep our eyes on that. Tight ends in this game, I can fade Luke Musgrave on one side of the ball. Cole Kmet is probably going to be a hot commodity this week. I think this is an excellent matchup for him. You can roll him out there and see what he does. And then as far as wide receivers go for the Chicago Bears, DJ Moore is where it starts, and that's where it ends. Obviously, we're going to have some more questions regarding this game, so feel free to let them down in the comments. I don't want to forget about the people over here, so let's get to it. Freezy says Mostert and Michael Thomas for Swift and Pittman. Fire it up, shoot it off, and take it. That's a great trade. Frizzy Carter says Richardson and Brian Robinson for K9. I have Hurts. Richardson and Brian Robin for K9. I have Hurts. We talked about this, a similar question. I'm not sure if it's the same person or not. I'd rather you already have Hurts, so you're getting K9. Yeah, it's not a bad trade at all. I would do it, Carter. I would do it. Let's see. Cook says, lame Geno. Yes, I hope you're not that one person that was with me last week that I was like, yeah, I'll start Geno Smith over Lamar Jackson and look like a complete tool, might I say. But I own my own mistakes. So, Chris, thanks for dogging on me. Terrell T says, Addison or Tutu this week. I look for a fine bounce back game from Jordan Addison, wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings. He got goosed last week. I don't think that happens again. And with Cooper Kupp coming back, what role does Tutu have? Is he still the deep guy? Is he still the short intermediate guy, which he never really kind of was? Does he lose targets? I think all of those answers are yes, he loses targets. And I don't know to the other two. So with that, I want the sure thing. I want the 2 wide receiver on the Minnesota Vikings who look to bounce back as a whole team. And they got a pretty juicy matchup this week. So I take Addison there. Freezy says Lamar and A.J. Brown for Justin Jefferson. I have Richardson. 100%. Go get Justin Jefferson. Make your team the best team in fantasy football. Chris Cook, I made a trade this week that was not well balanced for myself. I did, however, come away with 2 combos. Do I start Stroud with Dell or Love with Reed? Working on a trade for Watson. Well, I would start Love this week. I would start Stroud this week. And I would start Dell this week. If you're leaning to start Stroud, and you don't like Dell, I don't like Reed. So you're going to start that trio or you're going to start that stack for sure. But I see a world where you can also start Love with Dell. Judging on the fact that I don't like Thursday night games that much, I'm fine. And again, do I have any data or viable information? No, it's just a hunch because every time I start a Thursday night player, it feels like it's always a dud game. It's a trap game. I know that may not be the case for you, but it's the case for me. So with that being said, I like Stroud this week. I don't know if I like him over Love. That's just my personal thought. But let me see here who I have on the QB chart a little bit higher because I have them both ranked fairly high this week. So let's see. Jordan Love, he's my QB 11 this week. And to be honest, he's QB probably 9 for me. I like him better than Trevor Lawrence. I like him better than Jared Goff. However, I do have Stroud a little bit behind him, but there are plenty of guys that I like ahead of him as well. Really, that's kind of it. I like Stroud better than Trevor Lawrence this week. I like Stroud better than Jared Goff this week. So both of those guys are top 10 quarterbacks. Remember, we have 4 quarterbacks remaining or 4 quarterbacks out this week. So if that sounds a little weird to you, you're like, wow, Gabe, Jordan Love and CJ Stroud in your top 10. Like, understand there are bye weeks. And these guys are going to absolutely drop bombs for your fantasy team. Freezy says, Lamar and AJ for Jefferson. Yeah, we already got to that. Caden, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you taking the time to come over, say what's up. Let's see. Thoughts on my team. Weakness, Josh Allen. No weaknesses there. Saquon, Khalil Herbert. That's probably where your biggest weakness is. Watson, Gabe Davis, Rashad White, Keenan Allen, TJ Hockenson, Marvin Mims, and Charbonnet. It's not a horrible team at all. It's a solid team. I thought that's all you had at running back was Saquon and Khalil Herbert, but you have Rashad White there as well. I don't like Khalil Herbert or Rashad White too much, but those are guys that can be mainstays in your lineup because if you need that depth, they're there. They're guys that pretty much own the shares of their backfield. They're not going to wow you. They're not going to get that. They're not going to get you that 20-point game. I think what Khalil Herbert did last week and what Rashad White did 3 weeks ago, you're not going to get that every game from them. But they're steady consumers because they're getting all the volume. Personally, Caden, I would look to trade Saquon here. He's playing on the worst team of the 3, which is hard to say, but it's true. There's a lot of question marks surrounding that offensive line. Again, Daniel Jones was sacked, 11 times last night? Absurd. Absolutely crazy. And I think Saquon carries enough name value to where you can either get another solid RB or double up that wide receiving core because right now, Allen, Gabe Davis, Marquise Brown, and Marvin Mims, they may not do it for you. So you might want to upgrade that wide receiver position. But overall, solid team. Give it a 6.5 out of 10. Playoff contender, but you got to make some moves along the way to stay relevant. Thanks, Caden. Again, appreciate you coming down. Let's see. Eduardo Alvarez, Kittle, Najee for Gabe Davis, and Pacheco. I don't mind it. I don't mind it one bit. Pacheco's a fine play week in and week out. again, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. We can start to see Pacheco getting more work. But as Mahomes gets it together, as he starts to find his juju, which I think is also Rashee Rice. So if he's out there on the waiver wire, that's a good hold. This offense will find itself back to what it usually does, slicing and dicing offenses through the air and then punching it in the ground game, or with Patrick Mahomes doing some trickery around the goal line. I still like Pacheco. He plays in the higher profile offense as opposed to Najee and Kittle, who's the fourth option on his team on any given week if there's no one out. Let's see. Lame Chano says start Brian Robinson or ETN this week. I like ETN this week. I'll take him over Brian Robinson. Benny Shearers? Benny Shirts. I like that. Who do I put in my flex? James Cook, DJ Moore, or ETN? Let me go with ETN this week. I like him more than DJ Moore and James Cook. Let's see here. Lamar and AJ Brown. Yep, we got that. Would you trade Ayuk for Brees and Addison full PPR? That's a fair trade. I think I want. It depends on the makeup of my team. If my team is pretty solid and I have a really good wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2, perfect example. In my redraft league, or at least one of them, I drafted Hill and Diggs with my first 2 picks with the 9-10 turn. And then coming back in like the 5th round, I ended up getting Ayuk. I actually would prefer to hold on to Ayuk there because now I can live with him putting up duds, and I can extremely live with the fact and be elated when he gives me these big boom games. So again, I prefer the Ayuk side here, but I could totally see a reason if your team makeup is different to take on Brees and Addison. Brees has a beautiful matchup. I love Addison in a bounce back this week. I don't mind that trade at all. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for the question. He goes on to say that my wide receivers are Devontae, Ridley, Higgins, and Michael Thomas and Ayuk. My wide receivers are Devontae. Yeah, man. I mean, if you want to do it, I think you heard what I had to say. You're loaded. You're loaded, man. What are you even doing? You're your own commish, man. Go out there and win a championship. Charlie Newen says Kirk Cousins versus Kansas City or Anthony Richardson against Tennessee. Thanks. I can't even get the words out of my mouth. Give me Anthony Richardson this week. I love the rushing upside that he's able to do. KC provides, a tough matchup. I still think Kirk is going to go out there and run it, probably throw 40 times. But I like Anthony Richardson, man. I can't get enough of the guy. He's QB probably 6 or 7 for me this week. Matter of fact, as of right now to this very moment, I have Anthony Richardson 2 spots above Kirk Cousins right now. Call me a fool. I don't know. That's just where it's at for me. Love the analysis. New subscriber. Caden, you're a new subscriber. You do it on air. Not only do you get the applause, but you get a big old air high five. Thank you. So not only you get the high five on me, you get the applause. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for letting me out. I can't even get my words out. Maybe it's Wednesday. It's hump week, guys. I'm just stuttering over my words every 5 minutes. But thank you again, Caden. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Carter says, got Richardson for Khalil Herbert steal. Absolute robbery. Get out of here, Carter. Go live another life somewhere and steal from the poor. Just make sure you're giving it. Well, I guess you can say steal from the rich and just make sure you give it back to the poor. Okay. Because not cool, dude. Not cool at all. Man, we're getting a lot of comments here. Lucas Quack says, pick 2 RBs, Alvin Kamara, Brian Robinson, and David Montgomery. Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery. Those are the 2 RBs I'm going with. Lucas, thanks for coming out today. Nice to see from you. Let's see. Pick 2 RBs. We already got you there. CC boy, should I trade Kelsey and Gibbs for Laporta, Olave, and Brees? Do so immediately. I love Laporta. I don't think Kelsey is the guy we think he is. Yes, he's going to have those games. Of course he is. But you're getting so much value here. You're getting Brees Hall, Olave, and Laporta, 3 guys that you can instantly insert into your lineup. Brees Hall has a tremendous matchup this week. Pull the trigger. C-Boy about to get a C-dub, if that makes sense. I need to stop trying to be funny. Big 2 RPs. Alvin Kamara. Yeah, we got to that one already. Thanks for the help, man. Gotcha. Alex Guerrera says, should I trade Swift and Garrett Wilson for Jefferson? Dude, if you can do that, you're an absolute, I don't know, GM. You're OP. You're overpowered, man. Who says just traded away Tyler Boyd for Dalvin Cook? Thoughts? I don't like it. I don't like either of those guys. It's a low risk, low reward trade. I'm totally fine with it. I wouldn't prefer it. Dalvin Cook's been absolutely awful. If you're hoping to maybe input him into your lineup this week because he's going against Denver, then sure, it's a solid play. But overall, it is what it is. It's a nice trade. This CC boy says my wide receivers are Waddle and Debo. Yeah, man, you're set up for success. Waddle's due for a bounce back. Debo's due for a bounce back. Again, we all knew he was a decoy last week, so you had to eat that if you started him. But I like it overall. Let's get over here. BBB, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming back. Bro says the Giants O-line is hot trash. I got A-Chain, Hunt, Ford, Pacheco, Saquon on the bench. Time to deal. Yeah, you got a lot to play with, that's for sure. I'd hold on to A-Chain right now. He's probably got the highest upside of any of those guys. And Pacheco, I'd hold on to him. But Ford, Saquon, Hunt, do what you got to do, man. Increase your lineup. Make it better. Do what you got to do. BB, good to hear from you. Luke Goheen says, trade Derrick Henry for CD and Brian Robinson. That's some good value there. I'm not opposed to it at all. CD and Brian Robinson for Derrick Henry is a go for me. Thanks for the question, Luke. I appreciate you. JR says, what's good, man? Look at this return for Kittle. Or wait, what's a good return for Kittle and Rachaad White? Well, let's take a look at what Rachaad White value currently is. Why does my internet keep going down? This is just annoying. I like things to go smoother than this. And now nothing works. Let's see. Let's go to week 5 here. Let's go to Kittle. All right, there we go. So you're throwing in Rachaad White too. This might be your last chance. I mean, you can laugh and throw an offer to the Jonathan Taylor owner and just say, hey, what do you got for this? Maybe throw Jonathan Taylor in there. I doubt you'll get him. Sam Laporta is a really good tight end I like, but if you're not looking for those tight end, you're looking for more of those skill position players, man, it gets a little bit tougher. Jordan Addison, Khalil Herbert might be someone you want to take a look at. Christian Watson, if you can get him. Damian Pierce seems to be having better days ahead now that Stroud is really picking up his rhythm. That's another guy I like. These are all guys that I currently have higher than Kittle, by the way, and Rachaad White, who's on a bye this week. Let's see. It looks ugly, man. DJ Moore, Bryce Hall, those are guys that I like a little bit more than those two. So, JR, just a few names. Hopefully that can kind of get your wheels turning and get your thought process on track to make a solid trade. Colby Hastings says, should I trade Henry and Pittman Jr. for Keenan Allen? I also have Kamara, Connor, Jay Jetta, and Cup. Yeah, man. Just add to that. If it's a full PPR league, then do it. Like, you're just stacking those assets at wide receiver. And we see it time and time again. Fantasy wide receivers, guys, I don't know if you know this, and some of you may not. It's totally fine. But it's very likely that a wide receiver drafted in the 5th or 6th round of your draft is going to vastly outproduce a running back that you took in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. It just happens that way. So when I see players who are trading for better wide receivers, do it. Do what you have to do. Get better. Get dubs. I don't know why I'm saying dubs. I'm an older man. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Everyone say hello to my dog, Otis. He's currently barking up a storm. Guess what? At nothing, because he barks at nothing literally all the time. But anyways, let's get back to it. Once he stops barking, are we good, bud? I love you. I really do love my dog, but he just barks a lot. I'm sorry. I'm getting him in doggy training classes. Let's see here. Logan Hutton says, should I trade Raheem Mostert and Keenan Allen for Justin Jefferson? Do what you got to do, boo-boo. Get that JJ. I like these people being aggressive, going after the best player in fantasy football. I guess we can say behind Christian McCaffrey. ETN and Trevor Lawrence. And I get Mixon and Anthony Richardson. So you're giving up ETN, Trevor Lawrence, and you're getting Mixon and Anthony Richardson. Do it. Beautiful trade. You're upgrading your wide receiver or your running or your QB position with the rushing upside of Anthony Richardson. I think it's a slam dunk trade. Connor McGee says Ramondre and D-Hop for Ridley. Absolutely, Connor. I like that trade. Hoodie Lex says Dell, Addison, Thielen, or Stevenson in the flex this week. I really like Addison for a bounce back, but if you want to go with the more consistent player over the last few weeks, that's Adam Thielen. So I don't have a problem rolling him out. But if you need a home run, Addison's your guy. Let's see. Start Laporta or Ferguson this week? Going with Laporta. Thanks for the question, Lame. Pick 3, Jonathan Taylor, Connor, A-Chain, or Kyren Williams. I'm going to go with JT, Connor, and A-Chain. Again, Cup's coming back this week. I don't have to be worried about it, but when I have 3 options as good as that, I'm going to roll with the hot hands there and the mystery that is himself, Jonathan Taylor, with that pick. So thanks for the question, guys. Braden Hyatt, should I trade James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Zay Flowers for Breece and Waddle? I don't have a problem with that at all. Breece has tremendous upside as the season continues, especially if Zach Wilson can just get a little bit better and you're buying Waddle here on the down games in the hopes that he can kind of regain his status as a solid wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team. It's a fair trade. It's a good trade. I'd prefer that Breece and Waddle side. Let's see. Matt Lenz says, traded A-Chain for Barkley. I got Barkley. Did I do all right? I'm not the biggest fan of Barkley. I'll just say that up front. Most of you who've been listening to me for the past few weeks, they know this. I don't like bad running backs on bad teams, which is why I'm fading guys like Brian Robinson, who was a good play this week and might be a good play later on. But Barkley, the injury history, how bad that team is, and most importantly, how horrendous that line is, it just is what it is, man. So, I mean, I would have preferred to keep the higher ceiling with A-Chain, but I can understand why you do the move you do. And at the end of the day, it's like a B+. I'd rather have A-Chain here, but I don't dislike Barkley that it's like a disgusting trade. So thanks for the question. Spain from the year 2022 or 2222 says, I traded Eckler and Pickens for Kyren Williams and Waddle. Or should I trade Eckler and Pickens for Kyren Williams and Waddle? I don't have a preference of either or on this side, but I do at the same time because I want the best player in the deal. Eckler should be coming back after this bye. Hopefully that trade is still there. I can probably see if it's a trade offer that's on the table right now. It's because that fantasy manager who has Eckler says, hey, he's on a bye. He's missed the last 2 weeks. I need to win this week. Give me Kyren Williams and Waddle. But if you've survived and you're now just getting Eckler when he's about to be healthy, then by all means, do that trade, Spain. Best player in the deal. Should I trade Jalen Hurts for Herbert and Travis Etienne? Anytime you can double up on another position while only slightly sliding back in the QB ranks, I am 100% for it. Me, myself, just a few weeks ago, I had Patrick Mahomes. I traded him for Josh Allen, who I view as QB3 overall in Dynasty, and Rachaad White, who I don't like that much, but I really needed the running back depth. I didn't dislike that trade. Clearly, I made it. Some of you might dislike it, but that's a very similar trade to what I'm seeing right here. Like Hurts is probably number 2 through 4 in Dynasty, while Herbert is probably more like 5 through 6. So you're sliding back just a little bit, in my opinion, and you're also getting Travis Etienne, JT, and JB. Great trade. Love it, man. Thanks for the question. Let's get to some other comments here. Who says hi? Hey, man. How you doing? I hope all is well. Seems to be your only real weakness to me. Oh, you guys are helping each other out. That's what I'm talking about, guys. I love that you guys are helping each other out in the comments. Again, it's not all just about me. I hope that you guys see other things, you see other comments, and you're like, dude, I got to give this guy my advice or at least my 2 cents. That's what we're about, building a community and helping each other out. So let's get back to these questions. Donovan Travoli says, A.J. Brown and Kyren Williams for J.J. and Saquon. That's probably the one time where I would like the Saquon side because he's in it. But if you're getting Justin Jefferson, you do what you got to do. Trade Waddle for Kupp. Ugh. I mean, you've held Kupp for this long. You need to see what he's all about. I like Kupp over Waddle. Start Ridley or Terry this week? That's a great question. I prefer to start Terry this week over Ridley. But at the same time, Ridley has a better matchup than he had last week. So that's kind of what you have to think about here. I'm willing to go to my ranks for that. Let me just see what I have out here. I'm pretty sure I have Ridley higher. So I can already see where this is going, but I'm just interested here. I have Calvin Ridley as my wide receiver, probably 16, 17 behind guys like Brandon Ayuk. He's actually in front of Michael Pittman. Scary Terry, then just off of that, I know that I definitely have him behind him. He's probably more like in that 22 range. No, he's only 3 spots behind him. See, I don't even know my own rankings. But I like Terry McLaurin really more than Garrett Wilson. And I like Nico Collins more than Terry McLaurin this week. So I guess if I had to choose it in a crunch, I'd take Calvin Ridley and hope for a bounce back. Again, Terry's playing on Thursday night, so that decision's probably really important for you, Gunnar Moore. But that's all I got for you right now. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, Ridley or Terry this week. Let's help Gunnar Moore out. I don't want to say your name, but sure, trademark Andrews for Waddle and Watson. I got Goddard dropped to the waivers. Yeah, 100%. You can go ahead and level up your wide receivers, Waddle and Watson. I think those are both fine plays. Andrews is a great, phenomenal tight end who's had tremendous value over the last 3 weeks with only one dud game in between. But, I mean, you're basically spreading the value out on those two high priority guys who are really touchdown guys too, if you think about it. So I like that trade a lot. Let's see. Lucas Quack says, is Brian Robinson a must start against the Bears? I do think he's a must start against the Bears. That's a horrible, horrible run defense. You know who's the worst? The Denver Broncos. You know who's the second worst? The Chicago Bears. So, yeah, you got to go ahead and start him. I don't know what a lightning bolt is, but thank you. I hope it's not striking me. And if it's a good thing, then that's great. Thanks for the lightning bolt. Appreciate it. Where's my thumbs up? There's my high fives. Appreciate you guys. Val, the GOAT, says, my team is a 12-man full PPR. I have Mahomes, Etienne, Montgomery, Chase, Nakua, Hawkinson, Watson, Locken, P. Ryan, Algier, JSN, Hunt. What deals would you make to increase the chances at a championship? Well, don't do anything with Mahomes unless you like what I was talking about earlier. The window's probably closed because Allen just went out and had an absolute fantastic game last week. But let's look at these running back or these QB rankings here. Jalen Hurts, if you're willing to slide back just a little bit. Ooh, my house almost burned down. Thanks for turning that off for me. I forgot to turn the stove off, and my wife was so graciously diligent, and she turned it off for me. So thank you. I appreciate that. Without her, I truly would not be here. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. But to be honest, again, if you view Hurts just a little bit less than Mahomes, go out, trade that Hurts owner, look to downgrade at QB a little bit, but pick up more depth somewhere where you need it. Looks like your running backs are pretty solid right now. Maybe you could use more depth there because Perrine and Algier are slowly and surely getting phased out, but your wide receivers are absolutely filthy with Chase and Nakua. So that's a trade I would look at. Maybe what I did similar to that. Mahomes for Hurts and Rachaad White. Not a bad trade at all. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks for coming by. Let's see here. $1,000 buy-in. Too rich for my blood. I don't even feel comfortable giving you advice here. Should I make any trades or moves? Well, I just did, and hopefully that works out for you. I do think that's a pretty solid move. Chris Cook, thanks, honey. Sorry, we're talking about football. Yeah, she was kind of mad at me, but she might appreciate that because, it's funny. It's a joke. Sometimes we need to laugh about things after the fact. Chris Cook, thanks for the comment. Hurts and Breece Hall. Dude, try it. If you can do that, I love that 10 times more over Rachaad White. But you got to do it quick because that Breece Hall owner is probably already thinking about this juicy matchup this week. So you're going to have to make that move pretty quick. All right, let's see. Landon Reynolds says, nope. I don't know what you're saying nope to. But sure, no. Should I trade James Cook for Nico Collins? I don't like it. I'd rather have the running back here, even though he's kind of been subpar. I think Nico Collins is going to start to have more down days than great days. But in the eyes of myself, it's a fair trade as things stand right now. So if you need to do it, do it. Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow this week. I've made the tough call to just sit Joe Burrow until he can prove himself for your fantasy team. Right now, I got Russell Wilson over Joe Burrow. I can tell you where I have him at specifically. He's got a really tough matchup, though, against New Jersey. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow has Arizona. It's so close to call. But I'd probably lean Russell Wilson here. I just have to see it from Joe Burrow first. I don't have the crystal ball. I can't see it myself. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. So, again, I'm sticking with Russell Wilson there. Should I trade? Let's see. We already got that question a few times. Fields or Stroud this week? I mean, Fields has the ultimate upside. He's got the legs. We haven't seen it yet, but he's got a pretty decent matchup against Washington. The only reason why I would say Stroud is because Fields plays on Thursday night, and it feels like a total fool's game. People were probably trying to trade for him this week, coming off of that high game. Maybe he was on your waiver wire, and people ran out there to get him. And I just feel like it could all be bad for Justin Fields owners. Meanwhile, Stroud's been pretty steady, pretty consistent. I do like Stroud this week over Fields, but in my rankings, I just can't have that reflected yet. So Fields over Stroud, but personally, non-biased, I like Stroud over Fields this week. Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp for Christian McCaffrey. Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp for Christian McCaffrey. If you got to do that, I would not do it. I love those wide receivers, man. And just imagine what Cooper Kupp can do. I get it. He's the best running back in football. But oh boy. If it's full PPR, I'd rather have the wide receivers there. Handle says T. Higgins and Addison for Waddle and White. I don't dislike it. I think it's a fair trade. I don't know which side I'd rather prefer. It feels very fair and even to me. If I had to go in a crunch, I'd take the Waddle and White side. So yeah, I'd do it. Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow. Luis, we just talked about it. I like Russell Wilson this week. Ryan says, do I trade Metcalf, Dameon Pierce, and Devontae Smith for Jamar and Jonathan Taylor? If you're Jamar Chase, because yes, I would do that in a heartbeat, Ryan. Good luck to you. I hope that trade works out. Calvo says, what's up, man? What's up to you? What's going on? How you doing? I traded Jamar for Kenneth Walker. I have CD, Amon-Ra, and Pittman. My RBs are Rashad and Madison. I mean, Jamar Chase? No. See if you can get CD, Lamb, and Pittman for Kenneth Walker. And even then, I'd want something back. But don't give up Jamar Chase. That's not pretty. I wouldn't do that. Jordan Brenner. I don't know. My only RBs are Pierce or P. Ryan, Akers, and Ford. Oh, no. I'm sorry, man. You probably had to deal with a lot of injuries. Let's see. Who can you trade DK for? Let's find out. We talked about it a little bit earlier. This was a very similar trade to what we had in the comments just a little bit earlier. Let me refresh the screen here while I think. Let's see. Oh, my gosh. Why is everything always cap lock? I got big thumbs. Don't blame me. My internet hasn't worked all night. But, man, if you need more running backs, DK. Wow, that's a tough one. Last chance, Jonathan Taylor owner? Probably not. Rashad White is there on the bye, though, so I don't know if you want to do that necessarily this week. If DK has a blow-up week, I think there's a potential to go up a little bit higher with these guys. But from what I can see, let me see here, just off the top of my tongue. Man, that's tough. DeAndre Swift, that might be a guy you can target. Kyren Williams, even though I'm really scared about him, you can try for Devon Achane. James Conner might be another guy, but that's probably my limit. I don't even know if I want to trade James Conner straight up for DK Metcalf. But those other guys, yeah, I would definitely do so. Let's see. Let's get some more questions here. Start Waddle or Thielen this week. I like Waddle in the bounce back. That's where I'm going. Jeffrey Zelnak or Zelzaki. Pick 2, please. Kyren Williams, Ryman Robinson Jr., and Terry McLaurin. I'd hate to double up on Thursday night on my 2 Washington players here, but if I had to, I'd probably go with Kyren Williams and Brian Robinson Jr. That's my pick. Thanks for the question, Jeffrey. Jaleel McLaughlin or Jahan Dotson in the flex? It all depends on Javonte Williams, right? He didn't play this week, or he didn't practice so far this week, or at least he didn't practice today. Keep an eye on that. I know it's Thursday night, but let's just see. Do we get information tomorrow about Javonte? If Javonte doesn't practice tomorrow, then I'd just wait out the storm. I'd start Jaleel McLaughlin. And if he does play in even a limited fashion tomorrow, I'd probably go with Jahan Dotson. Austin, keep an eye on that, and let me know what you decide to do. Jack Jennings says, should I do Lockett and Amari Cooper for Chase and Josh Palmer? Bro, Jack, if you can do that, leave this chat right now and make that trade. What scares you about Kyren Williams? His injury? No, man. I mean, personally, it's really the return of Cooper Kupp. And I know what most of you might be thinking. Well, he gets a lot of goal line work and he gets rushing touchdowns. Sure. But where he's also thrived in those games where he hasn't necessarily gotten touchdown work, he's gotten passing downs. He's gotten passing down work. So because of that, he has the potential to lose out onto some targets. So if he's not falling into the end zone and he's not getting targets, I think his low weeks could be very, very low. So that's kind of why I'm nervous, but we really have to just wait and see what Kupp does. I think that Matthew Stafford is still going to come out and throw the ball 40, 45 times a game. But where do those targets go? I mean, Kupp gets 10 or 12, maybe 15 at the most. Puka gets 10 or 12. Tutu gets 6 or 7 or 8. And we're already talking about 37 targets. So if my math is wrong, that's probably really off. But you see where I'm going with this. You also have to account for Higbee. I don't think anybody loses out, but at the same time, everybody loses out if you catch my drift. Michael T says, what's up, man? What's up with you, bud? How you doing? How's your night going? Should I deal Nico Collins and Brian Robinson for Lamb? I've got Kyron Williams, Mostert, and Gibbs for RBs, and Chase, Olave, and Puka. Thoughts on a different package? That package is good enough. You're banking on the facts that Lamb has brighter days ahead. So if you absolutely need to do it, I don't mind it. It's a solid trade, and you clearly have the wide receiver depth to do it. By all means, build that trio. Lamb, Chase, and Olave, filthy. Not to mention you're going to have a solid wide receiver too in Puka. Do what you got to do, man. Get those dubs. Jordan Briner says, Rams may be trading for Jonathan Taylor. Oh, my gosh. That's not a rumor I heard. That's a rumor I want to look up. Has anybody else heard about that? Jonathan Taylor possibly going to the Rams? Jonathan Taylor. Let's see here. News. We want the news. Returns to practice. Might play. Okay. No. I'm in practice return. No. Green Bay Packers. I don't really trust that network. Let's see. To Rams. I want to see how likely this is. Bleacher Report. Colts RB not traded. Expected to miss first 4. Yeah, that was like, 3 hours ago? This must be an updated article. Would Jonathan Taylor spark a Los Angeles run game? That was published by, looks like a newspaper company in LA. So I don't necessarily know, but if that does happen, man, huge fantasy implications here. Who, if you have someone who is interested in Saquon and you can get someone more consistent, I could see that being helpful. Yeah, 100%. Lucas Quack says, hey, again, 2 questions. Should I play David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara, or Travis Etienne at RB? And do you prefer Tank Dell or DJ Moore? I probably want to ride the hot hand with DJ Moore this week, which hurts to say because I was so high on Tank Dell just this past week. And then as far as running backs are concerned, if I can only pick one out of those 3, I'm going with the guy who's on pace for 28 touchdowns, and that's David Montgomery. Thanks for the question. He's just out here helping tonight, Chris. I appreciate you, buddy. Target loss, but he has snap count. Yes, he's the only option there. Ronnie Rivers got mixed in a little bit. I'm not too concerned about that. And yes, he can still be an option outside if Kupp isn't. I totally get that, man. It's all speculation at this point. We won't know definitively until we get at least a game or 2 of Cooper Kupp back. So Jay says, Terry McLaurin or Aaron Jones in the flex? Gotta go with Terry McLaurin there. I'd like to know Aaron Jones's matchup this week, though. Wait, don't they? They play Monday night, right? Don't they play against the Detroit Lions? I'm pretty sure they do. Let's take a look here. Sometimes I wish you guys could talk to me through the camera. No, they play the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Oh, man, that's filthy. That is a filthy decision. I'd probably lean Jones. Against a weaker run game for sure. Carter says Richardson and Evans for K9 and Pittman and CD. What? Or K9? Oh, one or the other. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that trade at all. You're getting a great running back, a guy that's currently injured. And if you have a solid QB already starting, then sure, you got to do what you got to do. Don't mind it. Let's see. T-Law, Fields, or Howell this week. Fields is probably the guy that I'm most likely to start. Fields or Love? That's tough, man. I like Love a lot. I'd probably go with Fields on Thursday Night Football, but be prepared for a Foles game. So maybe that says I go Love, but everything on paper right now says go with Fields. Let's see. I give AJ Brown. I get Garrett Wilson and Kyrian Williams. I give AJ Brown. I get Garrett. No, don't do that trade. Hey, Rio. No, thank you. Keep AJ Brown. Jake, trade Gabe Davis and James Conner for Breece Hall. That's a lot to give up for Breece Hall. If you really want him that bad and you have the running back depth to do it, give up James Conner for just Breece Hall. Start DJ Moore or Zay Flowers this week. DJ Moore. Caden says Smith or Waddle this week. I'm probably going with Devontae Smith. Watson or Mostert this week. Well, I'd like to see I don't remember who the Dolphins are playing. Let me see. The New York Giants. Oh, bud. That's a filthy one. I'd probably still lean Mostert here, to be honest with you. Jacob, need wide receiver 2 and a flex. Michael Thomas, Michael Wilson, Addison, or can I pick up Rashi or Jaleel? I would start Jordan Addison for sure. I like the bounce back potential. And then as far as your other guys, Rashi Rice, I would just pick him up. I don't know if I'd necessarily start him over these guys, but I'd pick him up and stash him for sure. Michael Wilson is probably the other one that I'd say to start, and you're just hoping to ride that hot hand. Zach Ertz or Jonnu Smith? Jonnu Smith, 3 straight games with at least 6 or 7 targets. In the last 2 weeks, he's been very much fantasy relevant. I'll take Jonnu Smith this game. Rio says, yep, Puka and Bijan for CMC. Why are you doing that, man? I get it. You're getting the best running back in football, but you already have one of the best wide receivers who should still sustain solid value, and Bijan. Just keep things the way they are. Don't ruffle up the depth in your lineup. Keep it how it is, Tommy. Keep it how it is. But that's just my opinion. You do what you got to do. Love or Fields this week? Again, probably going with Fields. Trade Puka for ETN. If you absolutely need the running back depth, I don't see a problem with that. I'd still prefer Puka. Isaac Crushell. Should I trade Jefferson and Andrews for Puka, Kelsey, Amari, and Zay? No. Keep Jefferson. Why? I love the people that are trading for Jefferson, and I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's absolutely crazy to try and get rid of him right now. He's one of the best wide receivers in all of football, and especially for your fantasy team. Brady Russell, Connor, Aaron Jones, or Waddle in the flex. I'd probably have to lean between those 3. Go with James Conner. By the way, guys, I know that I've been spouting out answers the last couple of minutes, but if you ever want to listen to more in-depth reasoning, analysis, which there or that lack of, there may not be a lot of it, but we definitely break things down just a little bit more on our podcast. They typically come out every Wednesday night or Thursday morning. So be on the lookout for those that are on our YouTube page, but you can also find them anywhere else you get your fantasy football content, like Spotify or Apple Premium. Trade Diggs and Josh Jacobs, and trade Diggs for Josh Jacobs and DJ Moore. If you need the running backs, I don't have a problem with that. Should I trade Nico Collins for Garrett Wilson and Gus Edwards? If you need the running back depth, do it. But Rohan, go out there and see if Keaton Mitchell is on your IR waiver wire and pick him up and stash him because he's coming back soon. And I think he might have more of an impact than a lot of us are seeing right now from Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. Colin Mathel says, sell high on Kamara. I mean, you can. I personally wouldn't. 13 targets. I know that's not always going to be the case, but Derek Carr isn't always going to be hurt playing in a game. So I kind of want to just hold on to my Kamara assets right now. I don't know what you would get for him. You can't get a better running back. You can probably get a better wide receiver. I don't necessarily know who, and maybe I can't really think clearly because I just prefer to keep Kamara at this point. P. Jen says, should I start Stafford or Fields since Cup is coming back? Stafford or Fields since Cup are coming back. I think Fields and Stafford are both fine plays this week. I clearly and unfortunately, I say this because it's just the way it happens. I have Fields ranked significantly higher than Stafford this week. Stafford's not throwing any touchdowns. So he can throw as many 300 games as he wants, 300-yard games as he wants. Until I see him throw some touchdowns, he's not touching my lineup. Don't know? What do you not know? I have some answers, but not all of them. Kyrian Higgins for Waddle, Gibbs, and Ayuk. If you got to do it, do it. I love Ayuk. I love Waddle. Ant, Michael Wilson or McLaughlin in the flex. Keep an eye out for Javonte Williams. Didn't practice today. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, I'd say for sure you can go with the other player there. That's just my opinion. Aiden says A-Chain or Montgomery. That's really good. I'd probably stick with Montgomery. 8 touches last week for A-Chain just kind of scares me. Does he see more this week? Definitely. There's totally a scenario where that happens, but I'm unsure about that right now, so I'd lean Montgomery. Start Puka or Smith? Puka. Start ETN or Kyrian? Give me ETN. Fields or Goff? Fields. Should I trade Puka and T-Lock for Keenan Allen? No. Start Brees or Mixon? Brees Hall has a really good matchup this week. Start ETN or Kyrian? ETN. Should I start DJ Moore or Zay Flowers in my flex? DJ Moore. Trade Jefferson for Pollard and Devontae Smith. I wouldn't do it. If you absolutely need the RB, I still wouldn't do it. Hopefully you have another wide receiver that you can trade, because I just can't stomach getting rid of Jefferson. But if you absolutely need to, man, at the end of the day, it's your call. Let's see here. Dean Payne says, trade Ramondre for Brees Hall. I have Aaron Jones already. You got to do what you got to do. It's a fair trade. You're doing this purely because you believe Brees Hall can make up for it as the season continues. But that's your call. I personally am on the side that he does. I think he can break out. Zach Wilson finally showed some potential after 2 straight awful weeks. So if he can get that game moving through the air, then it's going to make it easier for Brees Hall to run through the ground. He has got an awesome matchup against Denver this week. I'm totally okay with that trade. Let's see here. Pick 3, DeAndre Swift, James Cook, Tony Pollard. Pick 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you gave me 4 guys. DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard. No, you didn't. You gave me 3 guys. I don't understand. You gave me 3. I'm so confused. Wait, he says, hold on, my bad. Oh, okay. I was like, what's going on? DeAndre Swift, James Cook, Tony Pollard, Alvin Kamara. Yes, that makes things a little bit more interesting. Give me Swift, give me Tony Pollard, and give me Alvin Kamara. Thanks for the question, and thanks for clarifying. Chris Cook. Okay, I'll drop my team in horrid trade. QB Stroud, Love, wide receiver, Diggs, Dell, Myers, Judy. Those are some young wide receivers. Running backs are Pollard, Kyrian. You've been saved by Kyrian. Jaleel, tight end Waller. I had Chase, B-Rob, and Daniel Jones before. What'd you give up for Chase? I'm just curious. Big Trev, what's going on, man? Warren or Khalil Herbert in full PPR? Give me Herbert this week. Would you do DK for Brees Hall, or should I hold and hope for a high game? I would hold DK and hope for a high game. Q Mania says Kyrian or Brees Hall this week. On paper, it's Brees Hall, man. Wonderful matchup. You got to hope that he gets more than 6 carries. It's a huge gamble. But on the other side of the ball, it's a huge gamble for Kyrian Williams owners as Cooper Kupp begins to come back. If you want the home run play this week, I think it's Brees Hall that can give it to you. Thanks for the question. Let's get going here. Man, thanks for tuning out to guys. Oh, wow. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the roses. Thank you. It means so much to me. We're just hanging out. It's a Wednesday night. Let's hammer out some more of these questions. Let's call it the rapid minute. This is how fast I can go. Are you ready for this? Rocco, I just said thank you, man. You don't need to give me more, but I appreciate you, bud. Thanks for coming out tonight. Let's get into that rockin' minute. Here we go. Olave or James Conner this week? Olave. James Conner or Aaron Jones this week? James Conner. I have Allen, Tyreek, Lamb, A-Chain, Pollard, Kelsey, Nakua, and Kupp. Who should I trade for CMC? I'd say leave your lineup as is, but if you absolutely need to, go ahead and give up Lamb and Kelsey and get CMC. Notre Dame or Louisville? I don't know, Dirt Rider. Go ride on dirt some more. Give me Notre Dame. CMC, Dak, and Lockett for Josh, Jacobs, Ayuk, and Brees. 15-man league. Dak and Lockett are bench players. Then do it, man. That's solid. No, wait. You're giving up CMC too? No, don't give up CMC. Hold on to CMC. Give up Dak and Lockett for Ayuk if you have to, or Josh Jacobs. Get one of them, or even Brees for that matter. I don't care, but CMC you have to hold. Gunnerman, thoughts on Mark Andrews going forward? I love him. He's had some pretty solid games the last few weeks. Obviously, he's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week, but in the tight end landscape, he's a top 5 tight end with me with, honestly, top 1 upside. So I really like him going forward. Should I trade Chase Mixon for Bijan Watson? I have CD and Madison. No, keep Chase. But I can understand why you have the 2 Bengals. Trade Mixon for Did you say you had CD? Trade Mixon and CD and try to get that other player that we were just talking about? Sorry, your comment went away. Kittle or Jake Ferguson this week? That's a tough call. I'd probably go with Kittle. Ertz or Kittle this week? I'd probably go with Kittle. Cup, Lamb, or Waddle this week? Well, I kind of like Ertz. Castaneda, I like Ertz, but on paper, everyone's going to go with Kittle. So are you going to rage with me and stick to your guns? Kittle saw 7 to 8 targets in each of the last 4 games. Like, that's a crazy amount of volume. But he can absolutely take over a game. I will say all the 49ers appear to be healthy. So you might want to go with Ertz this week. Cup, Lamb, or Waddle this week? Who sits? Ugh, that's gross. I'd probably sit Waddle as of right now. Trade James Conner for Aaron Jones if you want to. I don't mind it. Mr. Clean, what's up, man? We got a famous bald guy in the chat. Should I trade Fields, JT, Javonte, Ridley for Marquise Brown and ETN and AR-15? Should I trade Dude, do it. No, JT, I forgot. For Marquise Brown. Yeah, do it. Do it. Get that rushing upside. Do it, man. Mr. Clean, do it. But honestly, my gut tells me that you probably shouldn't because you've held on to JT for this long. Keep him. And Fields, if he starts running, he's going to be just as valuable as AR is. So probably it's a no-go for me. Amari Cooper, Kamara, Ayuk, or Cook in the flex. I can only pick one. Give me Brandon Ayuk and hope for that boom game. Trade Amon-Ra, Kyrian, or James Cook for Chase and Jacobs. Otherwise, if you have to, dude, yeah, I'm totally down for that. Amon-Ra, yeah, it's tough to give him up, but you're also giving up Kyrian and James Cook, and you're getting Chase and Jacobs. 100%, I would do that trade. Rashad White and T. Higgins for Aaron Jones and Drake London. I don't dislike it, but I don't like it. It's really just a wash for me. So that's up to you. Whatever side you prefer, go ahead and do it. Trade James Conner for Aaron Jones. James Conner. Nakua, A-Chain, or Mostert this week. Probably the higher upside, says Nakua. See what he can do. Trade Jamar. I'm trying to trade away Josh Wait. I'm trying to trade away Josh Jacobs. Who should I target? Don't trade away Josh Jacobs. Come on, man. Hold on. Brighter days are ahead. Brighter days are ahead. All right, guys. Ayuk or Pacheco this week. If you need the steady floor, Pacheco. If you want the high upside, go Ayuk. Should I have Cousins or Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson. Trade Jamar Chase and Terry for Keenan and Puka. That's a really tempting trade. It's kind of a wash. It depends on which side you want. As of right now, I want the guy who has the better quarterback, and that's Keenan Allen and Puka. So, yeah, I don't dislike it at all. Let's see. Should I start Miles Sanders or Aaron Jones this week? That's a tough one. I'm going with Aaron Jones. Do I start Puka and Cup this week? Gunner, do what you got to do, man. I'm totally down. If I had them both, I would fire them up. There's a world where Cup is kind of limited. Look for that news because this year, if you've been following the cookie crumbs, when a player is said to be limited going into the week or when their coaches speak on it, it usually means that it's true, which is not always the case. So keep an eye on it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Should I trade Pacheco, Walker, and McLaurin for Saquon? No, absolutely not. Do I trade Saquon and Judy for Devontae and Debo? Absolutely yes. Folks, that's going to do it for me tonight. I'm going to go hang out with my wife and my dog. We're going to watch some TV, cuddle up. Have a great night, folks. Again, if you saw anything you liked here today, please feel free to follow or subscribe on the YouTube channel. Anything helps us out. We really do appreciate it. If you want something a little bit more in-depth, a little bit more concise, you can follow us on YouTube or anywhere else you get your podcast, as we release a podcast every single week on either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And we talk about all things fantasy football, some of the tougher questions, like what can we do with this Bengal offense as a whole? And what can we do with the Carolina or with what do we do with Bryce Young as a whole in Dynasty? What do you do with the Jacksonville Jaguars? Do they pick it up? Again, it'd mean the world to us if you would go ahead and check that out. Leave a like, dislike, your comments, most importantly. Let us know your thoughts. And as always, thanks for listening out there. Good night. I'll see you guys on Friday. Have fun. Watch the Thursday night game. Don't go too crazy and hope your decisions were the ones best made. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.